The road to Pine Valley was almost empty that Friday evening. A thin layer of fog rolled across the asphalt, swallowing the narrow yellow lines as three friends drove deep into the forest. The car headlights cut through the mist like tired eyes refusing to stay open. Ethan was behind the wheel, his knuckles white against the steering. On the passenger seat, Mark was scrolling through his phone, checking the map again. In the back seat, Jenna hummed softly with her earbuds in, her head resting against the window. Signal's gone, Mark muttered, waving his phone. Completely dead. Ethan smirked. Good. That's the point, remember? No signal, no emails, no stress. Just us and nature. Jenna laughed faintly. And bears. Shut up, Mark replied, grinning. You're gonna jinx it. They were city kids, used to street lights and noise, deciding to spend a quiet weekend camping in the wild. Pine Valley wasn't on any tourist map. Ethan had found it through a hiker's forum. The post said it was beautiful but rarely visited. That's what intrigued them most. The trees grew denser as the sun dipped. The road narrowed until it turned into a dirt trail. The air grew colder, carrying the scent of pine and damp soil. By the time they reached the valley floor, twilight had swallowed the sky. This is it, Ethan said, stopping beside a clearing. They stepped out, stretching stiff limbs. The forest was utterly silent. No birds, no insects, just a faint crackle of leaves under their shoes. Creepy quiet, Jenna whispered. That's nature, Ethan said, though he felt a chill run up his spine. They set up the tent, lit a small fire, and opened a few cans of soup. Darkness thickened around them, pressing close, the trees like black pillars vanishing into the fog. The firelight flickered on their faces. Jenna told a funny story from college. Mark joined in, and laughter echoed softly in the still air. For a while, everything felt normal. Then Ethan noticed something. Do you guys smell that? Mark paused. Smell what? Like smoke, but not ours. They all sniffed the air. There was faint, distant, like a burnt log somewhere deeper in the woods. Maybe another camper? Jenna suggested. Ethan looked around. The firelight didn't reach far, but in the distance, beyond the ring of their camp, a dull red glow shimmered faintly through the fog. There, he said, pointing. Mark squinted. Yeah, maybe a campfire. Should we check it out? Jenna asked, but her voice lacked confidence. Ethan shook his head. Nah, let's mind our own. Last thing we need is to bother someone. They tried to ignore it, but the smell grew stronger as the night deepened. The glow didn't fade. It seemed to pulse faintly, as if moving closer. Around midnight, Mark stirred awake inside the tent. The fire outside had died down, and only cold ash remained. He glanced around. Jenna and Ethan were asleep. He heard something, a crunch, leaves being stepped on. Slow, careful, circling their tent. He held his breath. Another crunch, closer now. Mark reached for the flashlight, flicked it on, and pointed it toward the sound. Nothing, just mist and pine trunks stretching endlessly. Ethan, he whispered, shaking his friend's shoulder. Ethan stirred. What? Someone's outside. The words sank in like ice. Both of them sat still, listening. There was again. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, moving around them. Jenna woke too, blinking. What's going on? Ethan gestured for silence. He unzipped the tent quietly and peered out. The forest was silver with moonlight. The fog clung low, and for a second, he saw something, a shadow between the trees, tall, motionless. "Hello," Ethan called out softly. No reply. "Anyone there?" The shadow didn't move. Mark's hand trembled around the flashlight beam. It darted through the mist, hitting the spot where the figure had been, but now it was gone. The sound of footsteps retreated into the forest, fading until there was nothing but their pounding hearts. Ethan zipped the tent back up, exhaling hard. "Probably some hiker," he said, but even he didn't believe it. They stayed awake for a long time, listening to the night breathe. By morning, the forest seemed calm again. Birds chirped faintly, and sunlight cut through the mist. They tried to laugh it off. "See? Nobody murdered us," Mark joked, forcing a grin. Ethan tried to check the perimeter. No footprints, no sign of anyone. Just damp ground and pine needles. "Let's do the hike," Jenna said, hoping to shake the tension. "We didn't come all this way to hide in a tent." They packed some snacks and walked up the trail toward a ridge overlooking the valley. The forest was beautiful, almost untouched, tall pines swaying gently, the smell of moss and earth thick in the air. Halfway through the trail, they found something odd, a circle of stones, blackened as if from fire. In the center lay a small pile of bones. Animal bones, probably, but the way they were arranged, symmetrical, deliberate, made Jenna uneasy. "Ritual stuff?" she asked nervously. "Hunters, maybe," Ethan said. "People do weird things out here." Mark took a photo. "Gonna post this when I get signal." Creepy as hell. They moved on, but the image lingered in their minds. That night, the valley felt different. The silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy. Even the fires seemed to burn quieter. Around 9 p.m., as they sat by the flames, Ethan froze. "Guys, do you hear that?" It was faint at first, a whistling sound like someone exhaling through their teeth. Then a low humming followed, drifting from the woods. Not close, but not far either. Jenna's eyes widened. "That's singing." The sound rose and fell, a tuneless melody, as if someone was mumbling to themselves while walking. Mark grabbed the flashlight again, his hand shaking slightly. "We should go. Right now." Ethan stood, scanning the trees. "There's no one out there." The singing stopped. A branch cracked. Something shifted in the darkness. Jenna gasped as the faint red glow appeared again between the trees. The same one from last night, pulsing like a heartbeat. Ethan stepped closer, squinting. "Who's there?" Then a voice answered, soft, raspy, right behind them. Too close to the stones. They spun around. No one, just a fire crackling, the mist curling. Mark nearly dropped the flashlight. "We're leaving. Now." They grabbed their gear, half-packed, and stumbled toward the car. The woods felt alive, watching them. Every few steps, they heard movement, branches snapping, leaves rustling, but whenever they turned, there was nothing. By the time they reached the dirt road, the fog had thickened to the point they could barely see ahead. The car loomed like a ghost in the mist. Ethan fumbled for the keys. Come on, come on." Something moved behind Jenna, fast. She spun, flashlight trembling. A figure stood at the tree line, still as stone. Tall, wearing something dark, maybe a hood or coat, but the face was lost in shadow. "Get in," she screamed. They jumped in, slammed the doors, and Ethan floored the gas. The car roared down the dirt path, wheels skidding on mud. For a moment, through the rear window, Jenna saw the figure step into the road, head tilted slightly, as if watching them go. Then the mist swallowed everything. They didn't stop until they reached the highway, hearts pounding, lungs burning. None of them spoke for a while. Ethan finally broke the silence. "We're never going back there." Mark nodded. No argument here. Jenna just stared out the window, pale and shaking. When they got back to the city, they reported it to the ranger station. The officer there frowned when they mentioned Pine Valley. "That area has been closed for years," he said. "No campsites there. You sure you weren't somewhere else?" Ethan showed him the GPS coordinates he'd saved offline. The officer's face changed. He called another ranger over. They whispered for a moment, then turned back. "Those woods burned down 10 years ago," the ranger said slowly. "Lightning strike. Whole section gone. Nobody goes there anymore." Ethan blinked. "No, that's not possible. We were just there." The ranger shook his head. "You couldn't have been. There's nothing left but ash and dead trees." Mark showed him the photos he'd taken, the bones, the stones, the campfire. The ranger looked uneasy. "Son, this picture's not recent. These look like they've been here for years. And these stones," he hesitated, "they're part of an old memorial for 3 hikers who went missing back in 2013. Silence. Jenna whispered. "What were their names?" The ranger flipped through a folder, checking an old report. Ethan Cole, Mark Vance, Jenna Hill. The friends froze. Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. "That's..." The ranger looked up. "Yeah, same names as yours. Probably a coincidence." Ethan's hands trembled as he scrolled through the phone gallery again, but the pictures were gone, just blank gray boxes. Weeks later, Ethan drove back alone. He needed answers. He followed the same route, but the dirt road ended abruptly at a barricade marked restricted area. Beyond it, only dead trees and blackened earth stretched for miles. No valley, no clearing, no trace of their camp. But when he stepped closer to the gate, he saw it, etched faintly into the rusted metal. 3 names carved side by side. Ethan, Mark, Jenna. He backed away slowly, heart hammering, the sound of soft humming echoing faintly through the wind. It came from the burned forest beyond the fence. A low, tuneless melody drifting closer. The sign for Black Creek Campgrounds was half broken, hanging from one chain, squeaking in the wind. The paint had faded years ago, but the name was still legible enough to lure weekend adventurers. Tom Reynolds parked his truck at the edge of the forest road, engine humming softly before falling into silence. He stepped out, stretching, his boots crunching on gravel. The late September air bit at his skin, crisp, cold, but clean. Perfect for camping. He was alone. That was the point. After 2 years of nonstop city noise, his mind needed silence. His girlfriend had left him, his job was on the line, and everything felt loud, except the woods. The woods he thought were honest. Tom grabbed his backpack, slung his rifle over his shoulder, and started down the narrow trail leading toward Black Creek. The trees swallowed him quickly, their branches knitting overhead, dimming the afternoon sun. Somewhere ahead, water gurgled softly, the creek. He followed the sound until he reached a clearing, a small patch of earth near the water, sheltered by leaning pines. Perfect spot. He set up his small green tent, built a stone ring for his fire, and opened a can of beans. The creek flowed lazily beside him, its surface glinting with sunlight. For the first time in months, Tom smiled. "This'll do," he said quietly to himself. By dusk, the forest turned gold. Wind whispered through the needles, and birds gave their last songs before nightfall. Tom sat near his campfire, jotting in his small notebook notes, thoughts, and sketches of the trees. He had planned to spend 3 days here. No phone, no people, just quiet. The first night passed peacefully. A few owls hooted in the distance. Something rustled once in the bushes, but Tom assumed it was a deer. He slept surprisingly well. The next morning, he noticed footprints. They weren't his. They were smaller, narrow, bare, leading from the edge of the creek toward his campsite. He crouched, studying them. The ground was soft with dew, the prints fresh. "Kids," he muttered, "out here." He scanned the woods. Nothing. Silence, except for the soft trickle of water. He shrugged it off. Maybe hikers had passed by early morning. Maybe. That afternoon, while chopping wood, he saw it. Across the creek on the opposite bank stood a tent, small, gray, half hidden behind a fallen tree. He hadn't noticed it before. No sound, no smoke, but the tent was clearly occupied. A faint shadow moved inside it. Tom waved instinctively. "Hey there," he called across the water. No response. He waited a few seconds. Still nothing. He tried again, louder this time. "Hello, you okay over there?" The shadow inside the tent stopped moving. Then slowly, the flap unzipped halfway. Tom squinted, expecting a face to appear. But there was only darkness. The flap closed again. He frowned. "All right, friendly neighborhood we got here. Maybe they wanted to be left alone. Fair enough." He returned to his chores, but the unease lingered. Every now and then, he glanced across the creek. The tent remained still, unmoving. That night, as he dozed near the fire, Tom woke suddenly to a soft splash. The creek rippled faintly under the moonlight. He sat up, alert, eyes scanning the dark water. The opposite tent was gone. Only the flattened grass remained where it had stood. Tom's throat went dry. What the hell? He shone his flashlight around, the beam cutting through mist rising from the creek. No tent, no person, just silence. He tried to convince himself they'd packed up and left quietly. Maybe they didn't like company, but at midnight, he turned off the flashlight and listened. For a while, there was nothing. Then came the sound. Footsteps. Behind him. He spun around. Light flared across the trees. No one. The footsteps stopped. "Who's there?" he shouted. Only the forest answered, whispering leaves, croaking frogs. Tom stayed awake until dawn, rifle beside him, staring at the dark woods. Morning sunlight didn't bring comfort this time. He felt watched. He checked around his camp. Everything seemed untouched, except there was something new at the edge of his fire pit. A small wooden carving. Crude, hand-shaped, maybe 6 inches tall. It looked like a human figure. No face, no detail, just a shape. Someone had placed it upright in the dirt beside his fire. Tom picked it up slowly. The wood was damp, soft. "Who did this?" he muttered. He tossed it into the fire. The flames hissed, licking the wet wood until it cracked and turned black. He packed his things early. Maybe he'd just head back to town. But as he looked at the road ahead, something in him resisted. Maybe pride, maybe anger. He wasn't going to be scared off by some prank. "I'm staying," he said aloud, almost to prove it. He stayed. That night, the woods came alive. Wind howled low through the pines. The fire sputtered as if short of air. Tom sat rigid, hand on his rifle, eyes darting. The smell hit first, a sweet, rotting stench like wet decay. Then the sound, faint humming, a childlike tune carried by the wind. He froze. The humming grew louder, weaving through the trees, circling his camp. "Stop it!" Tom shouted, standing. The humming stopped instantly. Then a soft splash from the creek. He turned and aimed the flashlight, and his stomach turned cold. There across the water stood a man, naked, pale, covered in mud and scratches. His head was tilted, his eyes reflecting light like glass marbles. Tom raised his rifle. "Who are you?" The man didn't move. "Do you need help?" Tom said again, voice shaking slightly. The figure took one slow step forward into the creek. Water rippled around his legs. Then another step, and another. "Stop right there!" Tom shouted. The man didn't stop. Tom fired into the air. The shot echoed through the valley. Birds erupted from the trees, screaming. The man paused for just a moment, then turned and slipped into the darkness, vanishing behind the pines. Tom backed away, breathing hard. His ears rang from the shot. He stayed awake the rest of the night, listening to the woods breathe. At first light, he packed up and left. No breakfast, no rest. He threw everything in the truck and drove fast down the narrow trail, tires sliding over mud. But the forest didn't let him go easily. A mile out, the road split, two identical paths. He didn't remember that from before. He took the left one. It looped back to the creek, the same clearing. His own extinguished campfire still smoking faintly. He cursed, reversed, and took the other path. 10 minutes later, he saw the same clearing again. He stopped the truck, chest heaving. What the hell is going on? Then he saw movement across the creek. The naked man again, standing perfectly still, staring. But this time, something else was there too. Dozens of small wooden carvings lined the opposite bank, all facing him. Dozens of faceless little figures staring silently. Tom slammed the gas pedal. He didn't look back. Hours later, a ranger on patrol found his truck at the forest entrance. Doors open, engine still running, but no sign of Tom Reynolds. They searched for days. No footprints, no blood, no struggle. Just a single wet carving left on the truck's hood, shaped like a faceless man. 2 weeks later, a couple hiking near the Black Creek Trail claimed they heard humming at night. A low, tuneless sound drifting through the fog. When they followed it, they saw a light flickering near the creek. A campfire, they said, and a man sitting by it, whittling something from wood. When they shouted. To him, he didn't respond. He only looked up, smiled faintly, and disappeared into the trees. The next morning, they found his camp. Empty, except for one freshly carved figure, still damp, sitting by the ashes. Mirror Lake wasn't a big place. Hidden deep in the northern woods of Montana, it was little more than a patch of water surrounded by pines so thick they turned the air green. The surface stayed perfectly still most of the time, so still it earned its name. Campers said it reflected your face too clearly, like it wanted to memorize it. No one had camped there for years. But one June evening, four friends pulled up near its edge in an old SUV, tired, dusty, but laughing. They were childhood friends, reuniting after years apart. Ryan, Luke, Amber, and Kelly. "Okay," Ryan said, slapping the roof of the SUV. "This is it. No phone signal, no drama, no city noise. Just us." Luke grinned. "And bears. Don't forget the bears." Amber rolled her eyes. "Please, bears are cute. I'm more scared of mosquitoes." Kelly didn't say much. She just stared at the lake, her reflection rippling slightly in the water. "It's beautiful," she whispered, "but weird." They unpacked their gear, set up tents near the treeline, and started a fire. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and smoke. As dusk fell, Mirror Lake shimmered under the orange sky, reflecting everything: firelight, trees, even their faces, with unnatural clarity. Luke tossed a pebble into it. "Creepy how clear it is, huh?" Ryan shrugged. "That's why they call it Mirror Lake." But Kelly didn't laugh. She was still staring. "Did you see that?" she asked softly. In the reflection, they all looked, nothing but ripples. "Never mind," she said quickly. "Guess I'm just tired." Later that night, after dinner and jokes, the group sat by the campfire, the night growing cold and heavy. The woods around them were silent. No wind, no crickets, no sound at all. Then, faintly, from across the lake came a whistle. Long, low, just 3 notes. Woo-wee-woo. Everyone froze. Ryan frowned. "You guys heard that, right?" Amber nodded slowly. "Yeah, someone camping across." They listened. Silence. Then again, woo-wee-woo. "Probably some drunk fisherman," Luke said, forcing a laugh. "Chill, people." Ryan stood. "I'll check it out." Kelly grabbed his arm. "Don't. Please. It's late." But Ryan had always been the brave one, or the stupid one. He grabbed his flashlight and walked to the lake's edge. The beam of light cut across the surface like a blade. The opposite bank was empty. No tents, no fire, just trees and fog slowly rolling across the water. Then, from behind him, came another whistle, this time closer. Ryan spun around. "Luke, quit it." Luke blinked from beside the fire. "Wasn't me, man." Ryan's flashlight trembled slightly in his hand. He scanned the trees again, but nothing moved. He backed away toward the camp, the silence pressing on his ears. They tried to laugh it off. By midnight, everyone was in their tents, though sleep didn't come easy. The forest had that strange stillness again, heavy and listening. Kelly woke first. Something had pulled her from her dreams. A sound. The whistle again. Soft this time, coming from right outside her tent. Her chest tightened. Woo-wee-woo. She sat frozen, heart hammering. Then came footsteps, slow, dragging, circling the tents. "Ryan," she whispered. "Luke." No answer. The footsteps stopped right beside her. For a full minute, she couldn't breathe. Then, slowly, the footsteps moved away toward the lake. She gathered her courage, unzipped the tent a few inches, and peeked out. Moonlight reflected off the water like a mirror. For a moment, she saw her reflection, and beside it, another figure standing on the opposite shore. Still, watching. She blinked, and the reflection was gone. Morning brought unease. The air felt thick, wrong. Dew covered everything, but there were tracks near the lake, barefoot, deep, as if someone heavy had walked there during the night. Ryan inspected them. Could be some local kid. Amber frowned. "A barefoot kid? Out here?" Kelly didn't say anything. She hadn't told them about what she saw. Instead, she looked toward the trees. For just a second, she thought she saw movement, a shadow darting behind the trunks. They decided to stay one more night, though everyone silently wished they hadn't. The second night came faster, the sky bruising purple and red. The group sat closer to the fire this time, voices low. "Anyone hear the whistle today?" Luke asked, half joking. Amber shook her head. "No, thank God." Ryan smirked. "See? Just our imagination." But as soon as he said it, a breeze swept across the lake, cold, unnatural. And then, faintly from somewhere deep in the woods, woo-wee-woo. Luke's laughter died instantly. "That wasn't funny." Ryan raised his flashlight. "All right, whoever that is, you win." The sound didn't stop. It grew louder, repeating the same pattern again and again, echoing through the trees. Woo-wee-woo. Woo-wee-woo. Amber stood, trembling. "It's moving." She was right. The sound was circling them, coming from every direction now. Above, behind, across the lake. The fire flickered violently, smoke twisting in the cold wind. Then, suddenly, silence. They stood frozen, only the crackle of the fire breaking the stillness. Then came a whisper, right behind Kelly. "Don't look at the lake." She turned instinctively and saw 4 reflections in the water. But there were 5 faces staring back. The 5th one smiled. Kelly screamed. Ryan grabbed her shoulders. "What happened?" She pointed at the lake, shaking, but the surface was calm again, just firelight and stars. "There was someone in the reflection," she whispered, "standing behind us." Luke's hands trembled. "I'm done. We're leaving. Now." They started packing in a panic, tossing bags and flashlights. But as Ryan turned toward the car, his beam caught something between the trees. A person standing still, barely visible through the fog. "Hey!" Ryan shouted. "You think this is funny?" No response. The figure slowly raised one hand, as if waving. Ryan stepped forward. "I said." The figure vanished. No movement, no sound, gone like mist dissolving. Ryan backed away. "We're leaving. Right now." The drive down the forest road was silent, but the fog was so thick they could barely see the hood of the SUV. The road twisted endlessly, every turn looking the same. After 20 minutes, Luke muttered, "We've passed that rock before." "No," Ryan said, though doubt cracked his voice. "Keep going." The fog thickened even more until they couldn't see anything. Ryan slowed to a crawl. "Guys, I can't." A shadow flashed in front of the headlights. He slammed the brakes. The SUV skidded sideways, stopping inches from a figure standing in the road. It was a man, barefoot, head down, completely still. Ryan's voice broke. "Get out of the road." The man lifted his head. It was Ryan's face, identical, pale, emotionless. Everyone screamed. Ryan floored the gas. The figure vanished as the car tore forward through the fog. They drove until dawn. When the fog finally cleared, they were back at Mirror Lake. Same campsite, same burnt fire pit, same still reflection staring up at them. Amber burst into tears. "We didn't leave. We've been driving in circles." Ryan stumbled out of the car, pacing. "This can't be happening." "This," Kelly pointed toward the lake. "Look." The water's surface was rippling faintly, though there was no wind. In the reflection, they could see their own figures by the shore, but one was missing. Luke's reflection wasn't there. He turned slowly toward the water. "Guys!" and something yanked him forward, fast, into the lake. The splash shattered the silence. They ran to the edge, screaming his name, but the surface was already still again. The water reflected 3 faces now. No Luke, just calm, glassy water. By sunrise, only 3 of them sat by the ashes, shaking, eyes red. They didn't speak. Kelly whispered finally, "We have to go." They left everything behind, tents, gear, food, and hiked toward the main road until they reached a ranger station miles away. The ranger listened quietly as they spoke, their voices trembling. When they finished, he frowned. Mirror Lake's been closed for over a decade. Drought dried it up years ago. There's no water there anymore. Ryan's mouth went dry. That's impossible. We were there last night. The ranger stared. "Son, that lake's nothing but mud now. And nobody camps there since 2015. Last people who did never came back." He pulled out a folder and opened a yellowed report. Names were Luke Daniels, Ryan Brooks, Kelly Harper, and Amber Shaw. Ryan's vision blurred. "Those are..." "Yeah," the ranger said softly. "Those are your names." That evening, after they left, the ranger grew curious. He drove out to Mirror Lake himself, though the trail was barely visible. When he arrived, the place was as described: dry, cracked earth, no water, no sound. But as he walked across the old lake bed, something caught his eye. 4 sets of footprints, perfectly preserved in the dried mud. The last ones ended abruptly at the center of where the water used to be. He turned to leave, but stopped when he heard it, faint, carried by the wind. Woo-wee-woo. 3 low notes, echoing across the empty basin. He froze, looked down, and saw his own reflection shimmering faintly on the dry mud. Then another reflection appeared beside it, smiling.